I'm Shane White, and this is The Process.
Hey gang, Shane White here with another edition of The Process. Today is the first in a series that I'm calling Artist Profiles. What is Artist Profiles? It's essentially interviews with artists that I know or have met who are willing to sit down with me and describe their process, the way they work, how they organize their reference, store their media, and what mediums they use and how they use them. I was fortunate enough to sit down with Tom KIDD, an illustrator who lives in Connecticut. In this, I ended up having to interview him at a cafe, so it's taking me quite a while to clean up the audio. What I also wasn't prepared for was his friend, Abe Echeverria, who just recently retired from teaching at a local university. To give you a little bit of background, KIDD described himself as a scatterbrained child, but he had a quick talent for drawing and was able to capture nearly anything he saw accurately with paper and pencil. However, when he recognized that cameras were able to create realistic images quicker and more accurately than he could, he turned to drawing the creations of his mind. KIDD particularly credits Chesley Bonestell and Norman Rockwell as his most formative influences. KIDD received a scholarship to Syracuse University, but dropped out after 2 years in the program. He moved to New York City to become a professional artist, and after a difficult start, began to see success as an illustrator. Since then, KIDD has illustrated 2 books, The Three Musketeers and The War of the Worlds, and is currently at work on a book called Nemo, Airships, Adventure, Exploration. A collection of his art, the Tom KIDD Sketchbook, is also available. He has painted the cover artwork for numerous paperback novels published by William Morrow, Random House, Warner Books, Doubleday, St. Martin's Press, and Tor Books, as well as Marvel Comics. He has also illustrated cards for Last Unicorn Games' collectible card game, Heresy: Kingdom Come. KIDD is also a designer. His design work has been seen in films, theme parks, and figurines for many clients, including Walt Disney Feature Animation and Mayfair Games. He has exhibited work in numerous galleries, including the Delaware Art Museum and the NASA Future Art Expedition. He's also won numerous awards for his work. And now, the interview.
When I first started out, I took any work that came along, anything came along. I was completely broke, and art directors told me they were going to hire me, but they weren't giving me work. They said, "Oh, we'll hire you any day now." So I called them all up, and I said, "Look, I'm literally broke. I am broke. You got to hire me, and you got to pay me right away." And this guy named Frank Taggart worked at Gold Key Comics.
Oh, yeah.
He got back to me and he said, "Tom, I got a job for you. It's hourly pay. You're coloring comics." I said, "Well, I can do that. No problem." So I went to work for him. I did it for 2 weeks. He called me into the office once. He said, "Tom, you did this all wrong. This is all wrong." I said, "See, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong." And they go, "Oh, that's actually not mine. That's the other lady who's been here for 5 years did that one." He said, "Oh, okay, well then show me one of yours. I want to find something wrong in it." Frank was good. Frank also, he came to the office once. He said, "Tom, I want you to come to lunch with me." And I said, "I was skipping lunch. I got to skip lunch. I don't have any money." He said, "Wait, you don't understand? I'm paying. When I invite you to lunch, I'm paying." I said, "Oh, well then I'm ready for lunch." But after 2 weeks, I got some book cover work, and I quit. I'm stupid. I'm an illustrator now. I'm not coloring comics. But after that, Frank gave me the occasional comic book cover to do, and
they were doing painted covers back then.
The painted covers, yeah.
Twilight Zone.
Right.
Yeah.
But then he came to me and he said, "Tom, we have all these old covers and the transparencies are damaged. So we want to reuse them, but we can't reuse them." And he said, "Could you just copy them for us?" Now you can just scan in Photoshop and fix it up within minutes.
Each channel, each color level.
Right. So I took these and I repainted them entirely. But I found out that copying someone else's work is although an exception to copying that Wyatt, is really tiresome. Really tiresome. So what I would do is give myself a day, and there was like 3 or 4 figures in some of these. So I learned to just, with paint, just copy something fast.
Yeah.
As long as you know if it's right in front of you, boom, I can get it done.
Yeah.
And so when it came to doing that piece for Paul, I did it in half a day. It was just easy to do. That may be the one thing that may be my talent is you put something in front of me, I'm a magic copying machine. I'm as good as the camera beats me though. It's much faster.
So what years were that? When you
what was this?
Yeah, what year? It was like when you officially were started.
1980.
1980.
Yeah, because I know that. It actually was into '79. I was working for Gold Key Comics, and it was until 1981 that I started getting regular work.
Wow.
So that I could basically support myself.
I think I discovered your stuff around 86, 87 when you were doing the Nemo and Tundra.
Oh yeah.
Is that it?
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have the Tundra Sketchbook? Do you have it?
Yes,
Okay.
I still have it.
Because I was going to give you that if you didn't have it. I have a few copies of it left that I bought off of.
I don't have it signed though. I know how much.
I'll sign you one. You can have an extra one. You can give that one to somebody. The thing is, they're falling apart, so you can set the signed one away, and then you can use the other one to look at. That Gold Key Comics stuff, though, that was. The art director came to me once. He said, Frank again. He said, Tom. He said, By then, I was done a couple of book covers, and he said, why are your book covers better than the stuff you're doing for me? But he kept squeezing me in these pigeonholes, and then they kept the originals.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
the
really the past. That's really the past. Keeping the originals, and which makes no sense since they made transparencies of everything.
Yeah.
What's the point? And I said, if you let me keep the originals, they'd probably turn out better. And he said, I don't see how that would enter into it. And I said, you don't understand. I'm making something, and if I feel it's mine, I'm going to find myself doing a better job. And he couldn't see it. He'd been art director for years.
And that was the way they did things back.
Right.
Right. You didn't know that.
Right.
It's interesting because being an artist or illustrator or even concept design, they would want the originals, and I just convinced them. Any client that I would work with, it's like, look, I can do this digitally or I can do this traditionally, and I can deliver any way you want. But at the end of the day, I'm providing a service. You get what you need from me, but you don't need the original, And a lot of old studios like Universal or film production companies still believe in owning the original. And it's like, that becomes an asset for them. And it's just like trying to recalibrate the thinking behind that. It takes, some effort, but at the end of the day, there's no reason anyone needs to have an original these days.
Except for Reader's Digest.
Why?
Reader's Digest amassed a fantastic collection of illustration because they kept the art
Sure.
after the commission.
Sure, but they now have more money than the artists do because now the artists have nothing to sell.
I had an agent, and he would. It's a buyout thing,
Yeah.
contractually, and that's what you do,
I've done
right?
that.
A buyout.
National
yeah.
Geographic does it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But one of those things is like, do they offer here's the cost, or here's the what we're paying for the illustration, and then here's the buyout price on top of that? Do they split
Exactly.
that up?
Exactly. If they want to do a buyout, that's where the negotiation comes in, what that amount is.
Sure. That can be fair. Or,
Keeping in mind reproduction rights, how much usage rights, to how many things, I mean, it's like the guy that bought Robert Crumb's portfolio.
oh,
Right.
And no, he didn't buy. He swapped. He swapped the villa in
Yeah,
France,
France
for his portfolios,
sketchbook,
right?
Yeah.
Box of sketchbooks.
What did he do with them? Big coffee table book of the portfolios
And he was allowed to do
for
that.
hundreds of dollars for each book.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make his money back from the transaction.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Though he could have sold each book itself, which would have been probably more fair, as opposed to reproduction rights, which you can infinitely make money on. It's an interesting thing how the nature of dealing business with art has changed with technology.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the better things to come along.
Yeah. The technology. If Tom makes a painting, it's an original piece. It's on canvas. It's on. You know what I'm saying? This digital world, you do something that looks like a painting. And the funny aspect of it is they have ways to mount it on canvas, because it's a paper product. It's just, it really doesn't exist. It's out in cyberspace, basically, But yet, with all that ability to make it, it's still fake. It's still not real, and that's the way I feel about it. I mean, when the change was coming in, I would exhibit at the Society of Illustrators, the annual shows and stuff like that. And as the years went by, it was 10% introduction of digital, as opposed to traditional presentation. Then 20%, then 40%. Now it's 75%, maybe 85% now of all digital art, So you get these very flat, framed up, images against some of the canvas things that are, It's,
Rick Barry's to blame for that.
Rick.
Yeah.
Him and who's the other guy? Vincent DeFay.
Oh, Vincent
Really? Too?
Does he do
acrylic?
He's
I
still
don't know
acrylic?
that, I don't know that he does. I was thinking Daryl Anderson is another guy.
Oh, Daryl Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't Mattingly change over to
Yes, Mattingly did too. Courtney now does most of his art digitally.
Yeah. But no, Rick Barry, didn't he do paintings now? Doesn't he do...
I think that he's now
For galleries?
He's now a gallery artist.
painter, right?
Yeah. He's going where the money is, I think. I think he always wanted to be a gallery artist. I don't think he ever really wanted to be an illustrator.
Yeah.
Well, all I want to do is illustration.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be a gallery artist.
Right.
But I'll take that job.
Sure.
It'd be a fine one.
Yeah.
Do you guys think about that as much these days? I mean, the term brand is thrown around so much as being a part of an artist's
Branding, is that what you
branding.
said?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
the Thomas Kincaid, everyone knows that name. And do you
I
guys
don't-
think about it in those terms at all?
I don't.
I would imagine not, because you were saying something about your style
I don't-
not being
Peter
I
Max,
Right.
guys like that. There's a number of them out there that are branded, well branded,
Right. But I think the term branding, it might have changed a lot because of the way commerce is perceived. It's not as global of a market, whereas I think there's a lot of micro transactions, there's a lot of micro economies that are springing up around a name.
Well, Sendak, Maurice Sendak is branded well,
Right.
mean, he's,
It doesn't hurt that he's got Broadway.
Right.
Credentials.
Yeah. Dolls, he's got the dolls out there, he's got the whole thing,
Right.
Yeah. Even though he didn't want to at the beginning. Because I tried to get him to do a cereal box for me when I was an art director.
Oh.
This was back in the 70s, early 70s, 72, somewhere in there. I approached him I came up with the cereal box. The cereal was Where the Wild Things are, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll stamp them like Wild Things,
Yeah.
And I told him, get in touch with him and see if he'll do the box cover for us,
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it. I don't want any part of the commercial world with my work, that. Now look at him. I wanted to tell him the last time I saw him. I wanted to tell him. So now they're doing puppets from your stuff, all the dolls and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the one guy who didn't cash in on that was Bill Watterson with Calvin and Hobbes, and I never fully understood why, he didn't want to do a little bit more with it. I guess he's satisfied with the way things are.
What do you think about a person like that? Do you think that's eccentric as an artist, or I mean, because he's a unique.
It's probably it's probably depending on your personality. It's a more centered thing to do, where you go ahead and get to live the life you want. I mean, he was satisfied with what he did, and he's, I guess, obviously has enough money, and he's living exactly the life he wants, and is not imposed upon by anything else. And you were talking about Robert Crumb. Robert Crumb did maybe work with some movie companies, but then he turned the rest of them down. He said it was a bad experience. He didn't want to have to do it again. Didn't want to have to deal with it. If I had my one big killing, I'd probably, forget it. I'm not doing anything else. I don't need it. If I don't need it, I'm not going to pursue it. But I've never had that. So I'm still part of the troops. I'm still a grunt.
Yeah. But there's also the other side of the coin, where if your work is driven in an area that has that versatility, where it can be this, it can be that, it can be turned into merchandise very easily. It's a natural progression, and that's how a lot of these guys get approached. So, to start, like the guy that did Garfield. As an art director, I used to design, toothbrushes, soaps and things like that. And we'd go to his studio, in Indianapolis, and he had this whole slew of artists working for him, and they'll produce this stuff.
Sure. Sure.
He had a helicopter that would come down on his,
Well, look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Eastman.
Yeah. They did some really nice things as far as bringing other artists in, giving them some kind of security, giving them plenty to do. Yeah. Kevin had the most ambitious plan, and it was you should have seen those days. Kevin you come in with a project. Kevin goes, "Okay, here's your check." And they're like, could he possibly? Oh, that's my coat on the floor. Figures. Could he possibly have enough money to finance everybody's dream? Could the teenage, and you can kind of see that, like if I thought that something I did could then like some of my friends like John, who hasn't had any real success financially at the start, and Courtney's had a tough time, and they've all got projects that they'd like to do. If something I did brought in all that money, if I had products out that bring in all that money, I go, look guys, I just want a percentage of what you're doing. And then I would go ahead and fail. That's fine with me. I don't care. I'll get you published. I'll get it distributed. If it fails, I'll just pay you to do another book until you get it right, until something clicks.
Well, yours, they did cards. Remember those cards? Those cards?
Yeah. Was that with Tundra?
No, Tundra didn't do those cards. That was actually... now I can't remember the name of the company. Friedlander Publishing Group.
Oh yeah, Micheal Friedlander out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, nice guy. I still don't understand what happened with his company. But tell you the truth, they contacted me about those little cards, and I said, "This is me." I was working on Nemo at the time. I think I'm getting a little bit of a cold. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Puzzles also. Puzzles, right?
Oh yeah, puzzles. Puzzles are good. But they contacted me, and Micheal contacted me himself, and he said he wanted to do Nemo. He wanted to publish it. I said, well, Kevin's the publisher. So to do these cards, and I said, who wants to do cards? Who wants little pieces of your art like that? And then I talked to Richard Hescox, and he said, Tom, I made $25,000 on my cards. I said, I got to do cards. So I now I call Micheal Friedlander and I say, hey Micheal, I changed my mind. I think I'd like to do those cards. And he says, well, you got about 6 other artists ahead of you now.
The market got saturated.
You got saturated, yeah.
when Nemo hit, like when Nemo came out, did you approach Kevin, or like when the book?
It didn't come out.
It didn't come out.
Nemo never happened. Nemo's
So
a dead project.
That sketchbook.
Oh, that sketchbook is not the book. That's just
Right,
the
it
Tom
was
Get
just-
sketchbook. That's just
Was that before the project to kind of
Yeah,
get
that-
the word out?
the
or was
actually.
that all that was in?
This was my thinking. Is he was just doing sketchbooks.
Okay.
Just showing drawings that people have done. And I thought, I'll take mine and make it split it in half. Make it one kind of advertising the book and one just my sketches. And by the time when that came out, I had done 4 or 5 paintings for the book. That was it. And they used 2 of them on the Tom Get sketchbook. But it was my idea to do it that way. And then they. With Kevin, you can do anything the way you wanted to. So it could have just been all sketches. But I thought I'd put some paintings in there too. So I put some paintings in. And but the idea was that a year or so later, Nemo would come out, and it didn't. Partly because of me. I took a long time doing it because I was off playing tennis with Abe. It's your fault, not my fault. I don't blame anything. I don't blame anything on it. Those damn vacations Andrea made me go on. You know, that's her fault. Your fault and her fault. And so I was late on it. It was supposed to be a 2-year project, and I went 3.5 years and still didn't finish it. But
Now, was he paying an advance on that?
you know, he offered to pay it all up front,
I remember
and he did
hearing
that with
about
some
this.
artists.
Yeah,
he did that
and
with
got
some artists.
screwed.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I said, I would like you to pay me as I turn the work in. The only thing I would like is to be paid when I turn it in that day. And he agreed to that, and he stuck to that agreement until he said, it's funny, is I was in the office turning in the another chapter. I did it by chapters. And I turned it in, and I'm in his office. And in the office is Julie Strain. And he said, you know, I knew he had canceled project after project. And he said, Tom, yours is the last one. I really wanted to do it, but I'm gonna have to cancel yours too. And then Julie says, so here's a book of naked pictures of me. And I go, oh, thanks. And I was just like I saw it coming. I had a feeling it was going to happen. It was like I just got fired from my first job or something.
Yeah.
And then I just drove home in a daze. And I had Julie Strain's book. And a couple days later, I said, I should have had her sign it at least, and I could have something to sell. But you know.
It's like a sad constellation thing.
Yeah, and then the guy who bought his company, Tundra Sketchbook, he was going to do it. So I talked to him a little bit about it, and he backed out of it. Then there's a couple more companies that want to do it, and then they just kept falling by the wayside. I'm trying to remember the name of the company in California. They actually sent me a contract for it. But it was a bad contract. It was pretty close to a buyout. It's like, no, not a buyout.
You don't work all those years to have someone just...
I'd rather just finish it, pay to have it published, give it away for free than to have someone else take it and do what they want with it. They wanted to design the book too. I wasn't going to let them do that. So, and then I approached him. I said, I'll do a different book for you. I'll just do something totally different. I'll do that. I'll just do your contract. No, we want what you've already spent 8 years of your life.
One point, then they opened this up and took this part over. There used to be an antique shop here. And,
You said you just retired as an art teacher?
yeah, I retired as a professor of art at Western Connecticut State University.
Is it official already?
This morning, I went in and got all the signatures. before they release you, you got to get this list of everybody's got to let you go. You got to turn in your computer. You gotta
Wow.
Ah, boy, they tear the stripes off of you. They break your sword.
and the thing
Oh no,
is,
that's not retirement. That's
you'll find this funny. One of the last places I had to go is turn in my parking pass
right,
to the police department.
right.
And I thought the official guy was on vacation, so I was going to have a hard time getting it signed off.
Right.
I'm walking towards the police department, and there he is, the chief, the police chief, and he's smoking a cigarette outside, right? And there's a wall there, And I'm thinking this thing you're saying, like the obelisks, they tear them off, And I thought maybe now they put you up against the wall, right? And then he drops his cigarette, so they shoot you. But he signed he just, hey, I'm sorry you're leaving, have a great retirement and stuff. So he signed it right off, and that was the last signature I needed.
Wow.
Turned it in. That was it. All in one day.
Yeah.
I thought I would have to be there. I thought I would have to go back tomorrow. Yeah.
But so you've retired, but like artists don't necessarily really
No, you don't
retire.
retire. You don't retire.
I mean, do you see yourself
don't
slowing
retire.
down or changing your course at all?
I'd like to be in better control of my time. I'm not good with my time already. I've never been good with it. I'm the guy who, you give me 2 weeks to get the job done, I will be done within the first week and then repaint it for the next week, and so all the time she's stuff. When I was when I had that contract with Kevin Eastman, Abe knows, he would call me up and say, let's go play tennis, and I'd be ready to go because I'd just come back and paint the rest of the day. So like my time was, and there was never any pressure on that. It was like when I turn it in, I turn it in, and no one ever complained. I got no art direction at all. Just do what you want. It was a weird time for me. It was a very strange time for me. And Andrew and I would go on a vacation to someplace, we'd never been to before every year, and she loved that. And then I went back to real freelancing again. And it was like a shock. I had to work all the time. Her vacation time would come up, and I say, sorry, I got to stay home and work.
The thing about this breakfast, the team, as doing this as a team, if he's got work, he'll call me in the morning and says, look, I won't be there because I have to finish it. So that at least one of us is always there,
Right.
for people that are coming in from outside. Because we the table is booked pretty much, long table.
Right.
And they give us a table.
They give us
So
a table.
you get people from all over? Or, I mean,
Yeah, they come from around.
Like how far away?
There's like a staple of regulars, and then there's people who come once a month or twice a month or something like that.
And then there's the odd drop-in from people that heard about it. And
Sure,
they stop
sure.
in and say, is this a table we sit at for, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
It's been in the paper a couple times, and so people see it, and we say it's an open table. Show up. We even allow non-artists occasionally, but usually we discourage. But what it is, if something's due on Friday, it can wait till Monday.
Right.
So Friday's a good day for us to do it. Then you can say, oh, this painting due today. You can't wait till Monday? Go, yeah, whatever.
What are they going to do about it? Right.
Well, now that you got your place set up with your new studio set up and all that, you're never going to leave that place.
Yeah, that's a thing that Andrea's worried about because
You make it too nice.
she wants to get up more, not less. And I like working. Abe's the kind of guy who needs to get out of the house. He can't be in the house,
Yeah.
But I'm famous for not leaving the house for 2 weeks. 2 weeks go by, and Andrea says to me, "You haven't gone anywhere, have you?" I said, I checked the mail. You know. I ran, but that doesn't count because I'm not like socializing.
Getting out in public. I think my wife is the same way. She's always. I looked at her to plan something to get me away, and then I have to figure out what block of time she's got planned and what I need to do up until that point, and know what to do when I get back. It's nice because you're only as good as the partner you're with.
That's right.
I think that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Do you find that is the same for you guys?
I agree with that from my standpoint because my wife is well aware of the arts. In fact, she introduced me to the world of ballet. And she manages to be aware of. She took care of the kids, pretty much. She was okay with that, But she has that support factor that's there all the time, if things are going wrong a little bit, she understands that. She understands this realm,
Right.
the roller coaster realm,
Yeah.
I guess the one of the good things about Andrea is that she is actually a science fiction fan, and when I met her, she had hundreds of SF books, and her father read comics as a kid. When she was a kid, he read comics. Her dad was an engineer. Her youngest brother is a fantastic guy. He's also a science fiction fan, and he gave me my website. He made my website for me.
Nice.
My first website. He just made it. It was ugly, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what this is. How long ago that he made this website for me, and my computer couldn't see the website. It couldn't. It was a Panasonic senior partner. It was just a green screen basically. You couldn't see the website. And whenever anyone wrote to me from the website, I got it as a fax. It didn't even come in his email.
Oh my God.
So that just gives you an idea of. And I remember this. Is in one of Jim Gurney's buddies, Tom Kincaid. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yeah.
This is what he said. This is what I got. I got a fax from him, and it says, "Oh, Tom, I see you've got a website. You're with me. This is going to be the big thing, the next big thing. And you're here with me, and this we're going to make this internet a big success for us." And I said, "How do you do that?" And he did. And I went, "I don't know how to do that. I didn't." But yeah. So she understands all the concepts of what I'm doing. She happily goes to conventions with me. She unhappily sits at a table and sells my prints and drawings and everything else.
She turns up at breakfast with you on Fridays.
And she does when she can. She's ready to do almost anything. But I don't think we work together well. We work very differently. There's very different methods of doing things. And that can be frustrating. I have to understand how she works. And one of the things that is very different is you know how a guy is supposed to get mad and then get over it? That's not me. I get mad. I'm mad. I'm mad for weeks. She gets really mad, and then you just got to wait it out, and then she's over it. That's it. And I had to get used to that. How could someone be so mad and have it not be the case 6 minutes later? It's gone. It's completely gone. It's like it didn't even happen. So I do this thing where I wait. Like I was supposed to go to Montreal with her last year for World Fantasy Convention. Maybe it was a year before that. Wow, I'm confused on that. Whatever it was. So I waited till we had to renew our passports. And I waited till she was sending off her passport to tell her, don't bother sending mine. And then she was very mad at me. She sent her passport. She went to the convention on her own.
Really?
Yeah, she went to Montreal on her own. And
Is this before?
this is when I was working on the books. When I was working on the Dragon book and the other book. Yeah.
Because it wasn't the year that I went to see the Formula
Oh
One
no,
race.
you're right. It was after that.
It was after that.
Yeah.
'Cause I
But
think,
what I did is I drove her to the train, and she took the train there. You took the train too.
I took the train too.
Yeah.
No, you told me about the train. That's why I took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You gave me the tour book.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the translations and
Right,
stuff, with the
right,
hotels and all that sort of
right,
thing. Yeah.
right,
So
right.
you pre.
Well, I took the train. I took the train with Andrea once before as well, and we went all the way to Ottawa. So see, there's our exotic travel. Just to give you an idea of our Andrea and me is that for years I kept telling her we're going to go on a European vacation, and then I said to her, this is a few years back. I said, you know what, we better get airplane tickets. We're going to go to London and we're going to go to Paris. And she says, what are you talking about? I said, you got to order these. You got to go online. I want you to get them because you're better at finding the deals than me. And she says, what are you talking about? I said, this is the year we're doing it. And she says, and then we did it. We actually did it. And it was like, she didn't believe me that we were going to. So like I said, that was a fantastic trip, by the way. That was amazing. And I said to Andrea, I want to live in Paris for a few months. I want to move here and live here for a few months. And she says, oh, you definitely should. She can't. She's got a real job, so she can't do that. But you should do it. I never did it. But I would love to.
Now, when you're on vacations like that, do you sketch or paint while you're on vacation, or do you take photos only, or how does that work for you?
I take thousands and thousands of photographs, and I draw a little bit. When I do draw, it's kind of like, oh Tom, I'm doing Andrew. Oh, you want to do some drawing? Go ahead, go do some drawing. And then like an hour later, she comes back. Aren't you done yet? You done yet? I did. No, not quite. Give me 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
And then, that's kind of how that goes. But I'm not married to an artist. I'm married to an English major. And the idea of sitting for 2 hours in a drawing is not something she wants to do. Or even watching somebody draw for 2 hours is not something. So we have to split up at that point.
I've done both. I do on the spot sketching with water, little watercolor things.
I love this.
He went to Spain. You should see the paintings he did. Spain, fantastic.
Yeah, for those trips to Spain, I did interviews. Similar, I did interviews with different segments of, like one of the segments was the ETA, the group that wants to fight for independence.
Okay.
So I had to get both sides of the story, basically. So you go to the police department, you interview some people there, and then you get connected with some of the individuals that might get you to somebody that might talk about that whole thing, And those interviews I turned into concept paintings,
nice.
about what that's going on over there. And that's what he's referring to.
Okay.
Those watercolors were fantastic.
Do you do watercolor or gouache?
And the sketches I do in watercolors, quick watercolor things, because I don't like work. I don't work in watercolors per se, but my hunch is the way to work in watercolor is to do as very little as possible and very quickly, and that's how it works really at its best,
But he did some giant acrylic paintings based on your watercolors? Okay.
based on the interviews
Interviews.
and the watercolors. Yeah.
And now, do you support those with photographs as well, or?
I've taken photographs. I've taken lots of
Sort of
photographs.
to make sure you get those
I've taken a
details.
lot of photographs. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. To remind me of the terrain, to remind me of the landscape, and yeah.
Even taking photographs, though, I mean, not to pick on my wife, but just art. It's more to show what a bully I am. It's something like this. They're like, Tom, are you done taking photographs of this museum? We're at in Ottawa at the War Museum. A good example. As I'm taking photographs there, and she says, "Are you done yet? Have you taken photographs you want?" I said, "Oh, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes more." And I got like 5-10 minutes more out of that. And my favorite picture though is of Andrea sitting down exhausted reading, about the museum. She's sitting there reading about it, and I go, oh great, it's a great shot. I'll take an exhausted picture for her.
I've also done portraits and gave it to the people that I did it from while there. Yeah. Restaurant owners, the farm where I was staying, the farmer, that kind of thing. Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. Because that was like.
Did you make copies of some of those? Take photographs?
I've got copies. Yeah.
Okay, because I remember seeing some of the portraits you did.
I've got copies.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was an interesting time.
Great
That was an
characters,
interesting
yeah.
time.
I've done sketches like that where I'll do ink and watercolor or gouache, but I haven't actually gotten close enough to the people. Like I've been to Thailand and Guatemala and places like that, and
Great.
And the language barrier is still pretty great, but at the same time, it's easier to be a little more voyeuristic and out of the scenes and stuff. But then if you're in like a bazaar or something, you'll get a lot of people who start gathering around you, and suddenly you can't see your subject matter, and it's kind of an interesting vibe.
Are you very comfortable with pen and ink? Are you very strong in that kind of?
Yeah, I grew up doing pen and ink and watercolor. My mom was into it. So
Is that your forte? I mean, is that?
Kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Actually.
Paint? You do
Paint,
acrylics?
oils. I just did an illustration in fluid acrylics. I hadn't tried those before, and I did a commission recently.
Yeah,
They're
nice.
fun. I love them.
Yeah.
But for different things, and if I'm traveling, it's always watercolor or gouache. And I used to travel with my oil box, but with the airlines and stuff, it's just a lot of. I have to ship a lot of stuff, and then so I stopped doing that. But I do plein air painting, and in the studio I'll do oils and acrylics.
And where are you set up?
I live in Seattle.
Seattle.
So, yeah.
Wow.
My sister lives in Danbury, so
Oh, okay.
So Tom had contacted me a year or two ago, out of the blue, which is real strange because I've known about his work since I was in college, and he was saying nice things
great.
about my work, and I'm like, I've been following your stuff for a lot longer.
So you guys are in Spectrum together and that kind of thing?
I've never been in Spectrum. I've never sent it.